Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Living on the Verge. Happy Friday. You know, life around here is actually moving along pretty well these days. I've been recording, getting myself to the gym, keeping up with things around the house, and settling into some routines that are actually starting to begin to feel like they may actually stick. Now, I'm not claiming that every drawer is organized or that every item on my list is checked off because, well, that would be a lie. But I do feel like I have a better grip on what I'm doing and, more importantly, what is worth continuing. One of the things I finally settled on is my gym situation. For a little bit more than a while now, I've had 2 memberships, which gave me a chance to stop guessing and find out which gym fit the way I actually live and work out now. But for a while, there were just 2 gym memberships for no good reason. Guess what? I finally made the decision. And today I'm going to tell you what won. And today, you know what? We have reality on the verge because Orange County women continue to give us plenty to discuss. Not that we are having a banner season, but we'll get into it. And after that, we're going to go to Ponte Inn for Winos on the Verge, wine, lunch, atmosphere, and what parts of the experience were actually worth remembering. So pour the coffee, pour the wine, or pour the water if you're listening at the gym, and let's get into it. If you have been listening, you know that getting stronger has become a real priority for me, not in a dramatic reinvention kind of way. I'm not training for the Olympics. After all, I am where I am. I just want to feel good in my body. I want to stay capable. And I want a routine that I can keep doing after the burst of motivation wears off. You know, we all have that, right? We decide Monday morning and you put out your outfit and everything's nice and clean and shiny and the gym bag is packed and ready to go. And by Wednesday afternoon, you're trying to talk yourself out of it. It happens to all of us. But for me, in order for it to be sustainable, it meant that the gym itself had to work in real life and not just look good on paper. And so here's the deal. I had 2 gym memberships, one at LA Fitness and one with EOS. And they each had very, very different, appeal factors to me. So how this all happened was about 3 years ago, after Emily Simpson, Real Housewives of Orange County, signed my HOCAs. We talked about that in an earlier podcast. I came back from BravoCon that year, determined to look and feel my best at age 60, which, by the way, if you are a regular listener, you know I just celebrated. But all of that aside, I joined at that time LA Fitness. It was close to my house, and I knew that I needed something that was close because it would eliminate some of the excuses. And I've done a really good job of staying consistent. I've had my moments when I haven't gone, but for the most part, I've been a pretty good attendee of LA Fitness. Trouble is, I kind of got bored, and it doesn't feel like I was having any progress after all of the, time I had put in. And so it started to make me wonder if there was something else. And about a year or so ago, we heard that an EOS Fitness was coming to a nearby neighborhood. And we were offered this amazing price for their Black/VIP membership. And so long before the gym was ever built, I joined as I can't remember what they're called. I don't know. It's some fancy term for you were there right at the beginning. And legacy. That's the word I was looking for. I was a legacy member before the gym was even built. But guess what? I had already been in my routine. And so once the gym was built and I realized, this is like double the distance and the drive is kind of crappy. I got to pass a lot of schools and it's, not a fun drive. I quickly convinced myself that I was fine at LA Fitness and never once even stepped foot into the new gym that I had been a member of for well over a year. And so started talking to my friends and realized that many of them were members at EOS and they really enjoyed it. And so it started to pique my interest, but still I never went. And then finally, one day I decided, you know what? If I meet my friend there, I know for sure I will go. And looked at the map and it turns out that it was only about 10 minutes farther than my current commute. And it wasn't a crummy drive. So I tried it. And guess what? I really enjoyed my workout. Now, to be fair, LA Fitness had the obvious advantage. It was closer. And closer matters. A shorter drive removes one excuse, right? And it saves time. And technically, it should make consistency easier to achieve. There is a real value in a gym being convenient enough that you can get there, do the work, and get back to your life without it taking out a big old chunk of your day. But for me, convenience wasn't the only thing I was measuring. I had to look at what happened once I walked through the door. Could I get the machines I needed, or was I spending a bunch of time waiting in line? Did the space work for the workouts that I'm doing now? Because my workouts have recently changed. And maybe what worked for me before wasn't necessarily working anymore. And did I feel comfortable enough to go in, follow the plan, and get out without the whole thing becoming a production? I remember I switched off of classes some time ago because that was the issue. It was just too daunting for me to get there at exactly the same time, 3 days a week. And I wasn't enjoying the pressure that I was putting on myself. I'm still able to get to the gym. I do so pretty regularly, more than pretty regularly. I would say it has become a habit now. But I just didn't want to put all kinds of pressure on myself as to when I got there. And so the idea of changing up my workouts was really appealing to me. But as far as LA Fitness, here's what a typical gym day looked like for me. I would walk in, I would go straight to the treadmill, and I would do anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes on the treadmill. I find that less time at higher intensity actually increases my heart rate more, and all of the research and coaching that I have had tells me that that is better for burning fat and retaining muscle during a workout. So I tend to have a 10-minute treadmill, moment while I scroll through Instagram or listen to a podcast. And then I immediately would head to the machines. Now, I, like many women at this stage in life, struggle with that midsection. Okay, I'm not embarrassed to share it with you. That's what we tend to struggle with, right? And so I was fixated on doing ab work and core work. And so religiously, I would do this ab crunch machine and this ab oblique machine. And I would spend a good amount of my time in the gym on those particular machines. And in addition to that, I would do kettlebell work, swing outs, things like that. And there would be times in my routine where I would do free weight work. And that was pretty much how my workout would go. And then I would finish with stretching. If I'm being totally honest, sometimes I would skip out of there without stretching. But essentially that was what it would be. And I come to find out that for my particular situation, core and ab work by way of crunches and swing outs, not really good for people with osteoporosis. So I had to make some amendments. And the good news is that I'm already noticing a difference. So let's talk about EOS. Well, EOS was farther away. So for me, it had to earn the drive. And it did. After that first visit, I was kind of excited about going back. It was clean. It was pretty. It was bright. And for me, I was finding fewer weights for the equipment that I needed. And the setup is working much better with the new workouts that I'm following. And as a bonus, I even had the option of working out alongside my palsy when it makes sense. Now, that last part is not the entire decision, but to be fair, community and accountability, they do count and they do help. We are much more likely to repeat something when it fits naturally into the rest of our lives. And that's what I was finding was happening with the EOS. And so let's compare my LA Fitness workout to my EOS workout. Well, the EOS workout starts with the treadmill again, but there are probably twice as many treadmills at the EOS gym. And again, I didn't find myself waiting. Now, to be fair, I've never waited for a treadmill at LA Fitness either. But again, it depends on what time of the day you go to either of these, I'm assuming. For this particular window, I didn't find myself waiting. So same thing, I would do about a 10-minute treadmill workout, get my heart rate going. But this time, my workouts are focused much more on a total body workout. And so gone are the abdominal focused exercises. Instead, I do a leg press machine or a chest press machine. And my new favorite is the abductor and adductor machines. Those are the ones that you swing your legs in and out, and either the tension is when you're pushing out or when you're coming in. Anyway, not to get too technical, but the long and the short of it is after 2 workouts at EOS, I actually felt some good soreness, the kind where you're waking up muscles you haven't used in a long time. And that's not 100% on LA Fitness. To be fair, I had changed my routine. But the truth of the matter was those machines, not all of them were available at LA Fitness. And at EOS, there's an abundance of them. And I just found it easier to stick to my routine. One of the other bonuses of EOS is that because I'm a Black member, which is their VIP program, I get free towel service. So I go in there and I can get as many towels as I need. I also get use of their recovery system, which for me is fantastic. It includes cryotherapy. It has a human touch massage chair. And there are some other perks that I haven't really uncovered yet, but I'm working on them. And I'm really excited that this is something that just comes with the membership that I've had all along, as it turns out, guys. So most days I finish my workout at EOS with a stretch, or I'll go in the recovery room, and then I turn in my towels and I head home. And you know what? Gone are the swing outs and the twisting and the turning, and consequently, gone is the lower back pain. Who knew? All of these people that had coached me, all of the people that had reviewed my exercise routine, and no one once thought to take into account that the movements I was making may have not been conducive to my osteoporosis. Well, there you have it. And for me, that has probably been the biggest adjustment. Before, I could work very hard and not necessarily be doing things right for the results that I wanted. I focused heavily on the abs and the core and the swing outs and the kettlebells. And I equated doing more with doing better. My workout is actually less intense now. And now I'm following a more balanced plan. And I'm just going to go ahead and give it enough time to show me what it can do for me. Some of the workouts still feel like less than what I used to call a full workout, but less random is not the same as less effective. Right now, I'm choosing to trust the structure, pay attention to how my body responds, and just let consistency do some of the work. As it turns out, the costs matter too. LA Fitness was roughly $45 a month, and the VIP/Black membership at EOS is roughly $20. Now, of course, the farther drive uses some gas and time, so I'm not pretending the difference is a perfect $25 savings every month, but price was one more point in EOS's favor, especially with all of the added perks and the benefits of being a VIP member. I can bring a guest with me anytime I want with this membership. Now, it's not the entire answer, of course, the price, but it's just part of the real answer. So for me, the trade-off is closer and familiar in LA Fitness, which was what I knew, versus a little bit further, less expensive, with fewer weights and better aligned to the routine that I actually use now. And so for me, the winner of the great gym experience is EOS. I canceled my LA Fitness membership, and EOS is the membership I'm keeping. You guys, it was not a decision about which company has the fanciest brochure or which gym is universally better. It was about which one I was actually going to use, which one makes my workouts easier to complete, and which one fits the life I have right now. And I think that's actually the useful part of this story. Sometimes the best choice isn't the closest option, the cheapest option, or the option you've used the longest just by default. It's the one that reduces the friction. That's what matters. In this case, I'm willing to drive a little farther because once I get there, the workout works. Now, ask me again after a few more weeks of leg presses and treadmill inclines. But for now, the decision is made, and I'm pretty happy about it. And speaking of people making decisions and then making us watch every single step of those decisions, let's get into reality on the verge. Let's start with Tamra and her daughter, Sophia. Now, Tamra went to go see Sophia because Sophia has moved out, and Tamra and Eddie are officially empty nesters. Now, the visit itself was very cute. Tamra showed up with, little gifts, decorative items for the apartment. The apartment is very much what a young 20-something-year-old would inhabit. And Sophia wasted no time making it her own with the decor. But it's just really kind of touching for me, this scene, because it showed me a different side of Tamra, a side that we almost never get to see. The side where she's soft and she's interested and she's generous and she's kind and she wants to connect. And that's a side of Tamra that we don't often get to see. So that to me was really cool. I like seeing these smaller family moments because they give us a different view of somebody that we usually see in conflict, right? Tamra's loud and reactive and can be very determined to control the room. But seeing her with her daughter, Sophia, lets us watch her adjust to being a mother whose child has moved out. You could tell she's struggling with the empty nester syndrome, just like the rest of us. And the empty nester shift is real. Your child is still your child, but the entire rhythm of your home changes. A visit becomes a visit. You're happy when they come home, and at the same time, you're learning what your life looks like when they leave again. And that doesn't erase everything else. It just adds another piece of information. And I'm always more interested when reality television lets a person be more than one thing. So being able to witness that scene, it was good for me. It was good for my opinion of this season of Real Housewives of Orange County. And with that, let's move on to Vicki. Oh, Victoria. Is your woohoo becoming work? It kind of feels that way. Now, I love Vicki as part of the history of Orange County. She helped build this entire thing. But I have to say it. Sometimes it feels like she's trying very hard to woohoo us into remembering peak Vicki. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm not sure how I like it. I mean, I remember when Vicki was legitimately and organically funny. And most of the time it was because she was so unaware of herself, for lack of a better word. And that's what made it funny and charming. But it seems like now she is trying to orchestrate the fact that she's exciting. She's fun to be around. She's the OG of the OC. I don't know that that's a title that one demands, but she sure does. I mean, the fact that she was called Debbie Downer has essentially changed her entire trajectory for the season. Before that happened, she seemed mature and almost, I don't know, seasoned and a little different, ready to come back. Since then, she seems a little unhinged, highly, highly offended, and like she kind of has something to prove. You know what I'm talking about. She gets that like exasperated, really fast-paced cadence to her voice, and the pitch rises. It's a whole thing. And to me, there's a difference between bringing energy into a scene and arriving with the instruction manual for your own greatest hits, right? I don't need Vicki to manufacture classic Vicki. Put her in the room, let her react, and classic Vicki will show up all by herself. That's the Vicki that we love. I'm going to move on. Let's talk about Heather. What are we not seeing with her? I'm a little perplexed with Heather this season. Heather continues to leave me with questions. I don't necessarily mean that she's doing something terrible. I mean that I'm watching her and wondering what is happening underneath all of these polished responses. I understand that Heather, like the rest of us, is human and she has feelings, but she seems highly easily offended this season. And whereas before she had thick skin and she could kind of, I don't know, broker peace between people, she now seems the one to be inflicting conflict into the group, whether it be, arguing with Jen about the level of her friendship with Tamra or anyone else, or whether it be with sharing her hurt with Tamra about some of their, descriptions surrounding their friendship. The whole thing is giving something is missing. There's something we don't know. I don't know. Heather's very good at staying composed, and composure can read as maturity, but on Housewives, and especially this season, it can also read as strategy. Sometimes a person who looks the calmest is simply the person who's most aware of the cameras. I'm still watching her, and I'm going to try to figure this one out. I'll let you know. Let's move right on along to my new favorite rookie of the entire franchise, Carmella Garcia. Carmella, on the other hand, is becoming more interesting to me because she's getting stronger as the season goes on. We're learning more about her. She is definitely a badass bitch. She has a fruitful career. She takes care of her family. Everybody assumed that because she is married to Jeff Garcia, even though they don't live as a married couple, that, he was the one lining the pockets. And let's be fair, he did have an illustrious football career, and I'm sure that it's helping. But this woman is self-made on her own as well. And she's not intimidated in the least bit by Vicki's history or even the volume of her voice. I really think that her refusal to just accept that Vicki was going to kind of bully her was fantastic. Her comeback, she didn't even skip a beat. Her thing was, I think all women should reach the finish line together. And as soon as Vicki thought she might have had any sort of a challenge, Vicki's immediate response was, well, I elevate. What the hell did she even mean by that? I don't think she really was elevating anybody by trying to put Carmella in her place. But I loved that Carmella didn't even skip a beat. She didn't even seem bothered. And for me, in that moment, it was Vicki who came away looking thirsty. There's a way for a newer person to challenge a veteran that feels like auditioning for screen time. And we've seen that time and time again. This did not hit me that way. It simply felt like Carmella was holding her own. And Vicki's presence actually gave her a bigger test. And to me, she passed it with flying colors. Now, I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about that dinner that they had, because that was revealing for me too. I mean, what was the intent? Granted, it was probably producer driven, but a dinner without Tamra and, definitely cutting the group in half. Okay, maybe sometimes you learn the most about the group when the loudest person isn't at the table and the energy changes. People say things differently, and you start to see which conflicts belong to the whole group and which ones orbit around one particular person. That's true. But for me, I don't know. It's kind of a cheap way to advance a storyline that's going nowhere. Now, the energy at the table was like, let's just all talk about Tamra. Let's all cover who's not here. People who normally wouldn't have a lot to say had a lot to say. And I don't know that it really did anything to help the group advancing as a cohesive group together. I think the conversation was more honest, but I personally admire someone who is willing to have a tough conversation with me in the room. I didn't really like it. Now, what I did really like was good old Gene the Machine and his lunch with Shannon. I cannot believe it. 97 years old. Wow. You remember last season, it feels like just yesterday when Shannon took him to a different lunch and hired the Marilyn Monroe impersonator to sing happy birthday to him. That was kind of cute. And we covered it here on the podcast. But this lunch with Gene actually served to complicate my feelings about Shannon. I've had mixed feelings about her off and on over the years. And I'm not going to pretend that one sweet lunch resolves every concern I've ever had about her. But it did soften me. I kind of love her relationship with her dad. And I could see that, even at her very grown age, she still has a lot of childhood wounds that she contends with. And to that degree, it brought me back to the Shannon of yesteryear that I just really loved. Like the first few seasons, Shannon was just refreshing and fun and surprising. And she'd show up in these outfits that would crack you up, but they didn't seem contrived, right? I think that's what changed my opinion of her. Lately, everything she does seems contrived. You can't go 2 episodes without seeing Shannon fall and a flash of her Spanx. I don't know. But this luncheon with Jean and the conversation that they had about moving back to LA when, Shannon was younger and how not moving back changed a lot for her. It was really a touching, real, honest conversation. And this is what I mean when I say people can be more than one thing. A person can frustrate you in one relationship and show you tenderness in another. We don't have to throw away our prior opinion, but we should be willing to update it when we see something real. And so for now, I'm going to keep watching out for Shannon as my heart continues to soften for her. Oh gosh. Okay. And then we get the real Gina story. The moment she saw an opening, she threw Vicki under the bus. Remember? They're talking about the Dior and the D. Immediately, Carmella had the heat on Gina, and Gina found a way to turn the attention toward Vicki and get the heat off of herself. So Carmella was pressing Gina about, what the big deal was about the bag. It was a nice gesture. What's the big deal? And Gina, realizing that she couldn't get out of it, immediately said, well, Vicki was doing a lot more than that. And instantly, the heat switched over to Vicki. That's the part that interested me. The distinction may have been funny, but the strategy was better. Gina didn't sit there and take all of Carmella's hits and all of her questions. She redirected the entire conversation and made Vicki the new problem, and as a result, bought herself a way out of the whole conversation. So, what's my Orange County scoreboard this week? Well, I like the interaction between Sophia and Tamra, and I'm kind of enjoying Tamra in the empty nester stage that we've seen so far this season. I really wish Vicki would just stop trying so hard and just trust that she already is Vicki. And like I said, I still have questions about Heather and Carmella. Well, she continues to garner favor in my book. Shannon earned a little softness from me. And Gina, well, she's the winner hands down for the prize on fastest deflection of the week. But overall, Orange County, especially for such a banner season 20, you guys, it's still leaving me a little dissatisfied. I'm not thrilled. How are you feeling? Tell me where you landed, because I know some of you see these women completely differently, and honestly, isn't that half of the fun? Now, let's leave Orange County, go somewhere with a prettier table, and talk about a kind of drama I understand completely. Deciding which wine deserves another pour. It's time for Winos on the Verge, my honest take on the wineries, wine bars, and hidden gems I discover along the way. This time, we're going to Ponte in Temecula wine country. And I'm really excited to tell you all about this visit. It was a fantastic day, and you should know that there were 2 parts to the visit: lunch at the Ponte Inn restaurant, and then the tasting room experience. And so it kind of got broken up in 2 parts. It was kind of a great day. We started off, who's we? My friend Terry and I. Terry and I met for Tuesday Wine Club, only it wasn't a Tuesday, because that's just the way we roll. When we feel like wine clubbing, we wine club. So we met there, at Ponte in the tasting room, and we were immediately greeted by a lovely young lady who I later come to know as Kim. She will be our pourer for the rest of this experience. And right away, she set out menus before us, welcomed us, asked us if we had been in there before. And I got to be honest, I was really impressed with the tasting room. It was ample and it had a lovely little shop where you could walk around and, like most tasting rooms, find really cool little tchotchkes and, I don't know, fun little trinkets that you can buy. If you've never been, and if you're not familiar with Ponte, it sits on Rancho California's. That's the main drag of Temecula wine country. And it's situated next to South Coast Winery. It has a hotel, which is kind of a cool little boutique hotel. And the restaurant on the property is one of, I believe, 5 locations where you can get food on the property. So it's not a small property. Very lovely, nicely appointed, really kind of cool where you could walk through some of the garden areas, and it has a lovely dedicated member lounge. But that's fodder for another day. Today, let's get back to this tasting. I started the tasting with a RHOC 2025, and it says it's white flower, pear, and tropical guava. I just enjoyed it because it was crisp and lovely without being too sweet. And that's what I look for in a white wine. So I wandered around, sipped on my RHOC, and had a couple more tastings. And then we decided, you know what? Let's take a break. You get 6 tastings. We're halfway through. Let's go have some lunch. So over to the restaurant we went, and it is a outdoor restaurant. But the nice thing is, even though it was very hot that day, they have a fantastic mister system. It's nicely covered. So it's kind of an indoor-outdoor garden-y situation, but the weather was not an issue at all. We felt nice and cool, and lunch was about to be fantastic. I ordered the braised beef sandwich, which is braised beef, caramelized onions, and horseradish aioli on a brioche bun served with a delicious au jus. I had mine with sweet potato fries, and it was $22. You guys, it was delicious and huge. I would absolutely order it again, but I would have to be hungry. This wasn't your dainty little wine country sandwich that leaves you looking for dinner 2 hours later. It was a real meal and a very generous portion. They start you off with this lovely loaf of bread with this like scallion dipping sauce that comes with it. They sell that in the tasting room. It was really delicious. And even though I don't really eat a lot of bread these days, I did take a few bites because it looked yummy. And guess what? It was. So lunch was uneventful. We had a couple of lovely pours there. And I was considering joining the wine club as a member. So I think they were being extra generous with me. All of that to say, Terry and I both celebrate birthdays in July. And so apparently they figured that out when we signed in. I'm not exactly sure how, but regardless, it yielded us a lovely little happy birthday ice cream with a candle at the end of the meal. And the manager came over, made sure everything was to our satisfaction. And it was a really lovely lunch. But alas, we were ready to finish our tasting. So back to Kim in the tasting room we went. Now, at this point, I'm writing down the numbers besides the wines as I'm tasting them. And I did a really good job before lunch, but after lunch, I stopped tracking the exact order. So what I want to do is share with you my favorites, which bottles I purchased, and how the rest of the tasting experience went. Now, while at the restaurant, there was a hands down white wine standout. And that was the 2023 White Pinot Noir. Not available in the tasting room, only at the restaurant, but it was described as white peach, honeysuckle, and watermelon. And, people hear Pinot Noir and generally picture a red wine. I did too. So for me, it piqued my interest. It was something different. And it made enough of an impression on me that it was my standout tasting over at the restaurant. Now, back to the tasting room, my highest recorded score went to the 2023 Cabernet Sauvignon. And that is described as ripe berry, allspice, and thyme. I was told by Kim that these grapes were planted in 1962. For me, it was delicious. It had a medium body, and it's one of their pricier bottles of wine. It may be their priciest at $65 a bottle, but it was worth it to me. I thought it was just lovely. It felt like a Cab Sauv that I could drink more than a couple of glasses of, and that's hard for me. Whatever it was that I tasted in that glass, it worked for me, and I enjoyed it a lot. The 2022 Super Tea received 4 stars on my little self-designed rating system that I use when I'm out tasting. And guess what? They have a port style that also received a 4 in my book. Now, the 2022 Doppietta received 3.5 stars, but I would just say it's of note. For me, what I purchased ended up being the 2025 Arnay and the 20th anniversary limited edition, they're gone now, y'all, red blend, which was a Petite Syrah and a Zinfandel. When I tell you it was absolutely delicious, I immediately changed my mind. I was going to buy the Cab Sauv, and I said, nope, give me the 20th anniversary bottle. And I am happy to report that I was among the last 12 people to buy a bottle because that was the last case that they had. But I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again in this case because it really applies. Going to wine tasting is fun. Having a nice lunch is fun. Getting a great pourer like Kim makes it especially memorable. A good pourer can change the tasting. She made the finale feel personal, and she made us feel welcome and important. And she had a lot of information that she shared with us rather than just making us feel like we were working our way down, a list of 6 wines and then get the heck out of Dodge. No, it was the complete opposite. I left there in the best mood. I'm sure the 6 tastings helped, but I'm more referring to the vibe, the feeling, the warmth, and the kindness that I received from Kim at Ponte. It made the whole thing so much fun. And she clearly did her job because I did not leave empty-handed. I bought the bottle of the 20th anniversary and the Arnays, and that's always a good sign that the tasting ended on the right note. I didn't just enjoy the glass in front of me. I actually wanted to take a piece of the experience home. So my overall Ponte verdict is that it works best as a full wine country stop when you give yourself time for both parts of the experience. The restaurant gives you a reason to settle in, and the tasting gives you something to discover before or after lunch or dinner. Would I return? Abso-darn-lutely. I would order that beef sandwich again, but only if I was splitting it with a bestie, and only if I was really hungry. And because I'm kind of spoiled, I would probably make sure that Kim is working that day too. And as for membership, we'll talk about it soon because decisions have been made, but that is fodder for another Winos on the Verge segment. And if you have not been to Ponte, definitely add it to your wine country list. And don't forget, go hungry, make time for a tasting, and hope you get a fantastic pour like Kim. As for my overall rating, I give Ponte 4 wine glasses out of 5. Thank you, Ponte. I'll be back soon. And so, you guys, that's it. This is our Friday episode. EOS won the Great Gym Experience. Sophia's visit gave us a look at Tamra on Orange County as an empty nester. The Orange County women may be trying too hard. And Ponte gave us a huge braised beef sandwich, a memorable finale, and a fantastic pour named Kim with a 4-glass review and a reason to go back. Now, if you are choosing between 2 gyms, 2 routines, or really any 2 options, I want to know exactly what decides it for you. Is it price, convenience, the people, or the way the experience feels once you're there? And if you've been to Ponte, tell me what you ordered and what I need to try next time. If you have not been, definitely add it to the list. Find me on Instagram and Facebook at Living on the Verge Podcast. And again, you guys, thank you for listening and spending this time with me. I'll be back really soon. And until then, I'll be right here, living on the verge. Have a fantastic weekend.